All right, welcome back to Statement Games Live. This is episode 8. My name's Nathan, and I'm joined with Mark. How's it going, Mark?
I'm doing all right. Doing a lot better now, although I guess I have a couple of different challenges taking place, specifically with regards to my hairline, but we'll address that in a couple of seconds here. But as a starting point, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. I actually tried finding some type of like Santa cap or Christmas kind of like hat, and I just kind of like had to lock in with my my Good Luck Rangers kind of like little cap over here, given that it's got the majority of the Christmas colors in it. So unfortunately, this is the best that I can do here in terms of trying to come up with Christmas colors, but I'm sure nobody's going to mind.
Yeah, no problem. So why don't you give the listeners the reason for watching our show?
All right. Well, we cover a variety of different things here. We're going to give you some tips and advice on what it's actually like to be an entrepreneur in the sports kind of like gaming space. We're also going to give you some tips and insights of what's taking place in the gambling world, and through a different form of fantasy sports known as statement games. You can access it via statementgames.com. Every single week, or like we do every single week here, we're going to give you an opportunity to win some cash. Even though you have an opportunity to win some cash, it's not going to cost you anything. Statement Games is a free to play sports gaming platform. We hope everybody checks it out. A little bit of a different twist on fantasy sports, but we'll get into all that fun stuff. Unless you got anything else to add here, it's pretty much like straightforward. I mean, is there anything else that you actually think that we do that, I don't know, gives the people some insights on why they should be continuing to tune into Statement Games Live?
Well, I think just sharing our experience and then going through and just
we got a lot of them.
Show. Yeah,
we got a lot of them.
For sure. So for everyone watching, make sure to subscribe to our channel, give the show a thumbs up, leave a comment with how you like the show. But let's just go into some of our general thoughts to start off the episode today. So what do you got for us, Mark?
Well, it's I mean, I'm gonna probably sound like a broken record here. It's just kind of amazing that we're basically through the complete 2020 NFL season. So we're now kind of entering week number 16. You got week 16 and 17, and I know that the playoff format has expanded a little bit here, but crazy year. Time kind of does fly by, and everything goes by fairly fast. The big thing that's on excuse me, my mind is just a couple of big upsets that took place this past week 16. Now I think I can take an educated guess on what I actually think your position is, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What are your thoughts on the Jets pulling out a victory? And watching for a couple of days now, the Los Angeles Rams absolutely get ridiculed and demolished by the sports media space on losing to the Jets here. Everything that I kind of seen and I've heard is 100% bashing Goff, bashing the Rams here. It's almost like no credit is given to the Jets at all, and I understand that for the most part here, the Jets never deserve any credit for anything. That's how abysmal and putrid that I've actually been here. But you kind of saw the team competing and playing well. Take the Seattle game the week before out of the equation here. They played kind of a strong game against the Raiders. Obviously, it cost the defensive coordinator his job with that boneheaded defensive blitz call at the end of the game here. I don't know. I think it's I think it's funny in a certain regard here, but from a fan perspective, from a sports insider perspective here, if you're wearing a couple different caps here, are you upset, or would you be upset if you're a fan of the Jets and they actually won? Are you thrilled that they finally got the monkey off their backs and picked up a victory? Completely indifferent. The Rams deserve a majority of the blame, or not enough credit is given to the Jets here. What's your thoughts on that whole storyline as we completely turn the page on week 15 and enter into week 16?
I think that it's weird. I give credit to the Jets they seem to be able to play up to their competition. They nearly beat the Raiders. They've played tight with a few other teams that have far better records, and then to best the Rams, like it's kind of like how to say it. Why? I guess is why did the Rams essentially allow that to happen? Why couldn't they've got a lot of talent on that team that they just couldn't put it together. They couldn't do anything with to stop the Jets. But as when it comes down to the pick, honestly, I don't think that Trevor Lawrence was the answer for the Jets. But essentially, Adam Gase is kind of I don't know. I have the feeling that he's out for the Jets after the season, and he's kind of just giant fuck you to the organization, the fans. Because while I don't think they were going to move on from Sam Darnold, they just drafted him a couple years ago. Imagine what they could get for the first pick in the draft. They could trade that back a few times and get multiple first round picks. Just a lot of talent that they could take into next year with a new coach, possibly, I don't know, new GM. It's just astonishing to me. And now that first round pick goes to Jacksonville, possibly. And that, what are they going to do with it? And are they going to, they kind of don't have a quarterback. They've got, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. The stash there. He's kind of like a cult favorite, but he's not that elite talent that, you want to really build around. And then they just had James Robinson kind of break out. So now the Jaguars are in this position where they could be drafting Trevor Lawrence and really bringing up the talent level of their team next year. And the Jets just kind of let that fly away from them.
Well, obviously you're a Lions fan. You pay a lot of attention to the black and blue division of the NFC, kind of like north here. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the Bears? Because I guess kind of like from my perspective, would you be shocked if the Jaguars beat the Bears kind of like this week here? I'm not 100% kind of like sold that the Jaguars are automatically going to lose kind of like the next two games. Let me just kind of pull up the schedule right here. I'm not sure who they're actually playing kind of like in week 17. I actually think they're playing like the Colts or something like that, and they're going to play the Colts week kind of like 17. So obviously that's going to be a tough game. Colts might probably, or most likely, will need to win that game to potentially have a shot at the division. The Jets are actually playing New England last week of the season here. First particular time in, 10 years that New England won't kind of like be in the playoffs. So given that Jets just kind of like won, you played the Raiders pretty well 2 weeks ago. Let's just kind of like throw that Seattle game completely out the window here. They were just walking into a buzzsaw. Seattle was just coming off a loss to the Giants. There was no way they were going to be losing at home to two New York teams 2 weeks in a row. But New England not pretty much going to have anything to play for that last kind of like a week of the season. Again, are you going to be completely shocked if the Jets beat New England week kind of like 17? You've already kind of like seen from I guess a historical perspective, even with kind of like Dame Tom Brady, New England losing at home against kind of like Miami, which pretty much like cost them a bye in that first round of the playoffs, and look at what kind of like happened from there. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is a lot of buzz and noise that it's automatically going to the Jacksonville Jaguars in terms of like the first round pick. I'm just trying to make a little bit of an argument where, hey, Jet fans here, I'm not necessarily going to be shocked if you guys kind of like win like another game here. So you might have not even had an actual opportunity to take the first seed kind of like anyway. And if you take a look at the other end of the spectrum here, obviously the Jets can lose the last two games here, but I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if Jacksonville picked up a win and the Jets got the number one pick anyway. I'm just kind of like and again, I'm kind of like, tweeting. I gotta kind of like, stop this. I'm starting to develop like a little bit of a track record on where I'm kind of like, running my mouth on social media. And for about a couple of weeks ago here, I get so locked into some of these picks here, and no matter what I freaking say, I cannot make myself look like Jimmy the Greek, pretty much kind of like, at all. So, um, I think the Jets, what did they? I think they kind of like, had gone up by like, 10 or 13 points, something like that in that Rams game here. And I just start tweeting like automatically. I'm like, it's not a question of if, but it's basically a question of how the Jets are going to kind of like, lose this game. There was
Mm-hmm.
not a doubt in my mind that the Rams were not going to come back and kind of like win that game. And obviously, they picked up a lot of momentum in the second half. They looked like complete dog shit in the first half, and I really thought they were going to win. And the Jets just kind of, held on, and give them credit. They went ahead and won. So I don't know. I just I wasn't rooting for the Jets. I was kind of like laughing at them and rooting for them to kind of like lose, just because I kind of like thought it was funny. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of happy that they actually picked up the W. I don't think you really want to see anybody kind of go 0-16. I mean, when you think
It's tough
of
to do.
as a Lions fan, like Coach Marinelli and that 0-16 kind of like Lions team here, you think they're a bunch of freaking kind of like losers, and between you'll know that it's at the tip of my tongue here. The defensive lineman on the Jets that just got hurt here. They kind of like ruled him out for the next two games here.
Quentin Williams.
Quentin Williams, yeah. I mean, very likable kind of player. So you don't kind of like want to see that complete 100% last place loser and life tag stuck on his back here, knowing that he went 0-16. Frank Gore has been a very likable player within the NFL for a number of years here. You know that he was basically playing his freaking ass off here. This is his last year. He's retiring at the end of the year here. There's no way he wants to kind of go out with a 0-16 kind of title. You made up a very good point here where there's no way that Gase is going to survive the year. So in a last-ditch effort to give an FU to the organization, that he's working his ass off trying to pick up a win or two. And it just I don't think you ever kind of like want to see a team kind of like go 0-16. It's I don't know. It's like it's kind of like it's bullshit. I kind of like look at it where if you're kind of like an older brother, and now you're rooting against kind of like your younger brother because you just don't want him to have the same accolades or success that you have as kind of like an older person. That's kind of like, I mean, it's a little bit of a weird analogy, but that's kind of like what I'm thinking when I take a look at those diehards out there, or people who are really upset that a specific team didn't go 0-16. Everybody deserves to win a freaking game here.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely like. I don't root for people to go 0-16, but at some points, like, it's just about, okay, so here's where you're at and what you're winning that first round pick, so you're not necessarily a complete loser, I guess. They give you the consolation prize, and you're as a fan base, you want whatever, like the best opportunity going into the next year when you just know that you're so far out of it. But there's so much left of the season still, even though it's only 2 weeks. Who knows really what's going to happen? But, the way things were tracking was Jets getting that first pick. And then, now it's tracking that the Jaguars will get it, which I think bodes better for Trevor Lawrence as a player going into a team that has a few more skills, skill players and everything. So that's kind of where I'm seeing that. So it's just interesting, and
I just don't think he. I mean, not that it means anything if you, but obviously, he has come out and said that he hasn't actually been to places kind of like in New York here. I don't know, this might be a little stereotypical over here, but he definitely, comes across as a little bit more of a Southern boy and things of that kind of like, nature. So maybe, smaller marketplaces like in Jacksonville might kind of like, be a better fit for him, but he's looked pretty freaking damn good in that game against Notre Dame this past Saturday. And I know from a New York perspective here, there's a lot of people in the local market, or my local market, that were backing on Trevor Lawrence, which, again, I don't actually see it, just because I like Sam Darnold. I'm kind of like pulling for him, and it really wasn't that long of a go here, and where he's kind of billed as the savior and franchise quarterback of the Jets. What is he? He's, I believe, only 22 years old. He may have just kind of turned 23. So I don't know. Maybe the kid needs a brand new start here, but I wouldn't be so quick to give up on that quarterback here. And I think we discussed this last week as well. I mean, you traded up a couple of slots to get the guy. So whether it's trading the number 2 pick or trading Darnold, you're pretty much guaranteed a top 3 pick this year. And what does it look like? A 2022nd, 23rd kind of pick in the first round here, being that they've picked up that pick from Seattle with the Adams trade here. So you're definitely looking at a situation where Jets could very well have 4 first-round picks, 3 at the least, but who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, and they can do a lot with that still. There's a lot of talent, deep into the draft that you can take advantage of, and that's the hallmark of a good GM, is turning 4th and 5th and 6th round picks into starters that are good, and not. I mean, take the Giants, the last pick of the draft, Tay Crowder. He's a great player for you guys right
now. yeah, playing well. But in addition to that, I guess the other kind of surprise here, and I guess I'll just kind of go ahead and ask the question here: Are the Steelers done? Like, what's up? I mean, that's when you kind of thought, all right, you know what, you've had your kind of big upset of the year, and I'm not sure if I would actually classify the Bengals upset over the Steelers, bigger than the Jets one, just from the fact that they were playing at home and the Jets were actually, on the road and 17-point underdogs and things like that. But I mean, wow. I mean, who saw that one coming? And that's another example of me kind of blasting my mouth on social media saying, what's the realistic opportunity of the Bengals scoring over 13.5 points? Not only do they go over 13.5 points here, they win the fucking game outright.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Steelers, but it's interesting because the entirety of the Steelers win, what is it? When they didn't lose a game for the majority, 10
11,
games?
11-0, yeah. And they've lost 3 weeks in a row at 11-3.
And after every game I saw on Facebook or on social media that they were joke teams. Like, there was something wrong with each team when they faced them. The Raiders had like a COVID problem and they lost their offensive line or something. It was just, there was always something with each team. And then when they finally went up against teams that were decent, they start to lose. They lost their mojo. So
tough game against Indianapolis this week. I mean, how crazy is this? And where after that 11 in a row win start to start the season, now they're looking at, I mean, is there any chance the Jets can actually beat the Browns this weekend? I mean, Cleveland could win this division.
I just want to say, this is kind of previewing our next topic. How are you going to feel if the Jets do beat the Browns?
I guess we'll cross that bridge when the time comes. We'll see. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I would have one feeling one way or another. I would be surprised because now I don't know what freaking happened, but I guess Baker Mayfield is now the next Johnny Unitas, playing lights out 3 weeks in a row here with I don't know. He looks like Clayton Kershaw, firing a football here like a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. So kid looks very good. Give him credit here. No turnovers, which is something that you came to expect from Baker, earlier on in the season.
Is he hitting his stride to go into the playoffs and make a deep run, do you think? Is this him finally showing up for Cleveland?
You know what it is? It's not because I think Cleveland is bad. I think they kind of improve in here, but I just think the AFC is just kind of tough. I mean,
yeah.
Let's see here. I mean, don't overlook the Bills. Kansas City is Kansas City. I mean, you're also looking at an opportunity in where, I don't know, Baltimore, Indianapolis, who's kind of the other one here. But you got a couple of teams here that, for a variety of different reasons, are probably going to get at least 11 wins on the season, and one of them's not going to make the playoffs. Miami.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just kind of it's really tough. So let's see here. As of right now, they're on the road in the first round. If Pittsburgh kind of continues to hold on and win that division, none of those teams. I mean, I'd be shocked if Kansas City didn't kind of get that first round bye. So you're looking at a situation in where Cleveland's going to have to go on the road and win a playoff game. A lot different this year when considering there's no fans in the stadium, but still, you got to give the home team a little bit of an edge. And where they let's see, let's do kind of a quick look here. What does the playoff picture look like, if it's possible to take a look at that? You know what? Well, I guess we'll kind of discuss it later. But let's see here. Tennessee,
yeah,
maybe.
I definitely think that. Oh, that okay. I feel like if they go on the road to Tennessee, that's not as big of a.
I mean, they put a smackdown on Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, right? I'm not even sure that's right. I'm kind of guessing here. You got the 4 division winners.
But I would say at this point, really the only
Buffalo
home field advantage is if you're not traveling extremely far. So I would put the Jets, someone coming from the New England or East Coast area going over to the West Coast would be a major disadvantage for the traveling team. But Cleveland to Tennessee, I mean, you're talking,
or Tennessee or I mean, I think they can actually go to Indianapolis. For whatever reason is, I mean, they just kind of keep winning, but I just can't get on the Colts this year, and I don't know why. I can't really kind of put my finger on it. I'm like, all right, you know what? I look at the Colts playing. I mean, pick a team here. I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts would, lost this game here. But now you look at the standings here. They got 10 wins. They're playing Jacksonville on week kind of 17. So tough game against Pittsburgh this week. But you're looking at a team. I mean, they could have 12 wins.
Yeah.
And I don't respect them for shit.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't think traveling this year is as big of a deal or as big of an advantage for the home team as it normally is, because of the fans not being there, and just because of everyone's kind of flustered from all the COVID stuff. So I think as long as Cleveland stays in the region, I wouldn't put any advantage towards either team. I think it'd be neutral ground, to be honest.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so, we'll see.
Talking about neutral ground or uneven ground, and the Cleveland Browns, we had a little dust up, maybe you'd say, on Twitter over the weekend, and threw down the gauntlet for the Browns Giants game, where you laid the terms. I gave it up to you. You said that the Giants would win, and that you put up a haircut a Mohawk.
Hold on a second here. So let's get this straight here. I like the Giants in the game, and I was getting 7 points.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay, so I didn't go out on a limb. Now, of course, I was optimistic and rooting for them to win the game, but I was taking a fairly competitive team in the past couple of weeks, getting 7 points on home on a Sunday night game here. And I really kind of like them, kind of like, I guess I really just kind of, banked a lot of stock in that game against Seattle, and where, McCoy kind of led the team to victory on the road against another kind of good team. And I really kind of liked the way that the Giants kind of defense was playing here. So there was a couple of different things that I didn't mind, but then also kind of bothered me about that game. I thought from a defensive perspective that the Giants kind of they played okay. They played well. I just thought they kind of played scared. A lot of particular players, or majority of the game here, really just kind of sitting back, kind of in that in some type of zone scheme. And I'm not sure if I guess the Bradbury kind of injury, being that he was placed on the COVID ridge, really kind of hampered the Giants, because there were some definitely lesser skilled players covering kind of Landry that game, and I think they were trying. They put in a lot of kind of schemes to protect against that offense, but look, didn't really give up a lot of kind of big plays here. But when you kind of have the opposing team pinned inside their own 5-yard line here, you can't necessarily give up 2 plus 95-yard scoring TD drives, taking off a lot of time on the clock here, and kind of expect the game here. Beginning of the game, and as kind of always, Giants move the ball well, just don't have the go-to play or enough skilled players on the field and where they have the ability to score. I understood the calls to go for it on 4th down, especially on that first possession, went kind of right down the field. The problem that I actually had is, if you're going to go for it on 4th down, which I don't mind them going in and doing here, you got enough kind of problems scoring as is. Put your regular offense on the field and go for the play here. I mean, did that fake field goal fool anybody? I mean, you had the punter throwing to the center as a designed fake play, which he kind of gave the opposing defense at least a good 5 seconds to see the formation that you were going in here. I mean, that's kind of what bothered me. So if that was the case here, I would have much rather kind of either kick the field goal or leave your regular offense out there and go for it. And there's also kind of part of me that's kind of leaning back and thinking, hey, you know what? Here you have your backup quarterback on the field. I understood the logic of, hey, Cleveland is hot. Couple of games in a row here where they put up plus 40 points kind of each game, even though that one of them was in a loss kind of against Baltimore. But Monday Night Football, your team's kind of in the game here. Part of me says, take the 3 points. Don't give the other team any type of momentum to capitalize kind of on here. So that kind of bothered me. But then again, you know what? The defense came out on the field. I think Cleveland moved the ball to either midfield or the Giants 45. They wound up going for it on 4th down. The Giants kind of stopped them. Shortly, kind of after that, they go right down the field. And again, don't mind kind of the call here, but and he's been good all year. I mean, you gotta freaking get into you gotta get a yard. You gotta complete kind of that first down. So hey, it is what it is. We did kind of have a wager. I did set the terms here, so we did kind of agree. Once we got through the holidays, I will be, I guess, I'm growing the hair out, so I got a full head of hair. I will at some point whip out the phone, record a little video of me walking into a barbershop, and tell the guy who's been cutting my hair since I'm probably 16 years old that we're going with a full-fledged mohawk. And I will rock that for a full week. And then I will go back and kind of get the full normal.
Are you going to pick it down the ball?
we're going to have to negotiate and see what type of rules that we're working with here.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that I am kind of running a company. You have to do a lot of Zoom calls and, put a jacket and tie on. But a bet's a bet. You have to, honor your word. So I'm committed to it. We definitely kind of agreed here, and there's another kind of like a little project that we're actually, working on. So I know that I have a fairly big presentation that's being recorded. That's due kind of like, on the 3rd of January. So probably kind of like, around that time frame is when we get the clippers out and get this shit done.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really glad it wasn't me.
I'm sure you are.
I was worried. I went into that, and my wife actually saw our text chain on Twitter, and she was like, "You're doing what?" I was like, "Oh, don't worry. I'm not gonna lose." Oh man, but yeah, no, that was fun.
So anyway, but although I'm going to do a little bit of a reverse here because we talked about the war, I did lose the war. However, I did win the battle. So a big time improvement for me. I did go 2 for 3 this week on our Sunday Night Football picks. The 3 picks that I actually had, I did have the Giants under 21.5 total points, which was correct given that they only scored 6. And I did have the New York Giants starting quarterback. In this particular case, it was Colt McCoy. I had him going under 242.5 yards passing, which was correct. McCoy went 19 for 31, 221 yards passing, no TDs, and no INTs. The one that I did get wrong here, because I was expecting some better ball control out of the running game from the Giants, was I did take Wayne Goldman over 66.5 rushing yards, which was incorrect. 9 carries, 29 yards, obviously no TDs, and his longest run of 9 yards. On the flip side of that, you want to talk about something that was absolutely putrid, which was your picks. You did win the war.
Yeah.
You did win the war. Yep. But in this little battle here, you posted a goose egg. 0 for 3 with your picks. You had the Cleveland Browns over 25.5 points, which was a reasonable pick considering the offensive tear that they've been on in the past couple of weeks. Came close but no cigar. You needed 2 touchdowns from Kareem Hunt and Chubb combined. I'm sorry, did I say Kareem Chubb and Chubb combined? I meant to say Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. You needed them combined to kind of like go over 1.5 TD, so you needed 2, and you got a TD out of Chubb. You're just going to get that. You couldn't get that second one. And I agreed with you kind of like on this one like a lot here, especially when you had a backup quarterback in there, and I knew the line would play better, and I did make a mistake here. I think last week here I said the Giants gave up 5 or 6 sacks against that game against the Cardinals. As it turns out, they gave up 8. In this particular game here, they only give up 1. So your pick of the Cleveland Browns defense over 2.5 sacks was also incorrect. 2 for 3 for Mark, 0 for 3 for Nathan. We'll be back at it in the Making Picks segment later on in the show, covering the Sunday Night Football game taking place between the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to point out the way you reasoned your picks was that you had the Giants like not doing a whole lot, and I had the Browns doing a lot as far as like being explosive, and I thought this was going to be far more one-sided. So
the Browns moved the ball all game. They moved the ball kind of like up and down, kind of like the field, basically taking a lot what the Giants want to give them. The Giants run a lot of I guess zone kind of packages. Had a very kind of hard time kind of like getting to Baker Mayfield. I mean, look, give the Cleveland offensive line kind of a lot of credit. Running game kind of like came on strong towards the end of the game. Baker was getting the ball out quickly and accurately throwing the ball kind of hard. Bullets. I mean, again, I'm not locked into a lot of Browns games as they take place over the course of the year here, but I got to give credit here. I was extremely impressed with the way that Baker Mayfield managed that game on Sunday night. Giants never kind of had a chance. I mean, once they kind of got down by 10 points here, you know that it was going to be extremely hard for them to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into some news. So you have another. You're throwing some more shade here, huh?
I'm showing like a little bit more shade. I'm not sure if you're able to kind of take a look at it here, but do you know who Sheldon Adelson is? Or you're familiar with him kind of at all here? Been kind of in the news kind of lately. I guess the biggest thing to kind of know about this guy is that you're talking about who somebody's extremely wealthy and rich. He is the I guess acting kind of CEO, the big time kind of executive, a boss of the Las Vegas kind of Sands Corporation here. A lot of land based casinos kind of spanning kind of the globe here for years, very much against online gambling. And of course, he's kind of doing that because he wants to protect the assets that he actually has kind of in Las Vegas. But you're talking about somebody who basically lobbied and, did a lot of different things to basically kind of present, or prevent online gambling for years. Well,
yeah.
As it kind of turns out here is that he's not kind of changed his position. So it's kind of a little flip-flop situation here. Giving the various different gaming laws that have changed and have taken place in our country in the past couple of years now, he is now literally kind of making political campaign donations specifically to Republicans in the state of Texas and lobbying very hard for not only land-based gaming, but on kind of online gaming. Obviously, he's got a couple of different projects that are lined up, specifically in the state of Texas, and that kind of makes sense here. So he's doing a lot of different things to push these kind of things through, which I guess is great from an industry perspective. But in the grand scheme of things here, I mean, you're talking about somebody for a span of at least over kind of 10 years that was pretty much opposed or adamant against such tactics. So I guess that was a little bit of news that I wanted to kind of share with the people, just to kind of give them some insight on people changing business positions here and now fully locked and loaded to expand the sports gaming and gaming kind of industry here in the U.S. In this particular case, it's just taking place in the state of Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's two things that probably plays into here. One is the success of online sports betting and gambling and everything. It's been, you got DraftKings, you've got FanDuel. These have they hit $1 billion valuations yet?
I believe both of those. Excuse me. I believe both those organizations have both kind of achieved over $1 billion valuations, and I believe those valuations were achieved even before they ventured into the traditional, just straight up sports gambling space. I think they had that valuation from just the traditional daily fantasy sports perspective, given the databases that they've built up over the years.
Absolutely. So you're looking at that. You're just seeing success come through, and obviously because of his stance prior, he's not seeing any part of that money. And then you've got the pandemic going on right now, which I'm absolutely certain has decimated casinos. Because if you want to talk about one of the grimiest places to go, as far as like touching things and spreading the possibility of germs, like for my honeymoon, I was telling you this, Mark, we went to one of the local casinos there, which granted it was smaller. In the state of Michigan, they have there's a lot of tribal areas, and each one kind of has their own casino. So I was in like, a casino the size of like two Stop and Shops, decent size, but there were two gamblers, not including my wife and I, two people on slots, and there was probably like 30 employees just standing around, manning your the local restaurants, the bars, the doors, all of that stuff. The valet guy was just like hanging out, just no activity at all. And it's, very unusual for that casino, which is 24/7 in this, kind of rural area. It's the only building that is a 24/7 job for these people. And there's always someone there. There's always, like, I wanted to play blackjack. They didn't even have tables open because no one was around.
There was no tables that were open.
No tables. The whole like
There was literally two people playing slots, and that was it. The table games pit was. Well, let me ask you this: Did you? I mean, was this during the day? Was this like a Friday night? Give us a little bit of an insight on, when you kind of went into this place.
It was Friday at 8 p.m.
Get out of here! On a Friday night at 8 p.m. here, there was two people in the casino. You and your wife were thinking, all right, we'll have a little fun. We'll go to the casino. It's Friday night. Get a couple of drinks, throw some dice, play little slots, maybe some cards here, and ghost town.
Yeah, ghost town. It was wild. So I couldn't imagine what they're feeling in Vegas. Like, obviously, so this wasn't the only casino in that within a drive. If we wanted to go about 45 minutes, we could have gone to the bigger casino of the area, which I would assume has all of the things open. So I'm sure Vegas is still seeing a steady stream of people, but they're probably not seeing anything like it was even a year ago, maybe the beginning of the year. So I'm sure that's hitting Adelson's pocket, and he's thinking, okay, how do we make ourselves pandemic proof? Go online.
Makes sense. We'll kind of have to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's move on to our next topic here. The Statement Games feature of the week. We kind of missed out on this last week, so I didn't want to gloss over it again. But Marc, take us through the feature.
Yeah, so I've been getting kind of a couple of questions here. The program is actually kind of going pretty well here. I just wanted to reiterate the Statement Games VIP program. It is a little bit of a premium program. We're kind of selling a membership. It only costs $24.99, which works out to about $2 per month, given that it is an annual kind of subscription here. There will be some additional features that we add to the program as we get deeper into 2021 here. But for those who are listening and interested in becoming kind of a Statement Games VIP, what we actually do is we pretty much put up probably one or two tournaments per week, and where you have the opportunity to compete for something that's a little bit more than your traditional Statement Games coins. We're talking about like a bundle or a jackpot kind of coins. Now you need to be the overall tournament winner to be declared the big pot or grand prize kind of winner. But by becoming like a VIP member here, you actually have the ability to compete in these tournaments just like everybody else here. But the only people that we award these grand prizes to are VIP members. Like I said here, there's going to be some additional stuff that we add to the program, such as the ability to spin the wheel multiple times a day. Only if you're a VIP member. As of right now, we give 10 referral credits to people who actually make recommendations to Statement Games here. We're probably going to be bumping that up specifically to VIP members to about 200 to 250 coins for every referrals that you actually go ahead and make here. And we will probably, do something for you special here if you refer or bring on board other VIP members into the community. We've also kind of started. We've also started a specific segment on Slack. A lot of people are familiar with what Slack is, but it's an opportunity for invited people to communicate and coordinate privately through messaging and things like that here. So we started a specific channel on the Statement Games platform, and where VIP members can kind of come in and just get the up-to-date news and notifications on when grand prize or VIP tournaments are being published. They have the opportunity to network and, you know, have a little fun with the other VIP members here. But it's things like that that we're adding to the VIP program here. So in the grand scheme of things here, for $2 a month here, it's just additional, you know, value that we're offering our VIP members.
Nice. That's awesome. It's a cool program, and you know, if you're watching this, make sure that. So to get involved and to get to be able to do that, what do they have to do, Mark?
So basically, they just have to coordinate with us directly. We could be contacted at marketing@statementgames.com. Our social media call handles are simply @statementgames, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you're following us, like or retweet one of our posts or DM us kind of like, you know, directly, we get you kind of like, you know, set up here. The way that the process works is that we physically go ahead, we dive into PayPal, we send you a quick PayPal receipt / kind of like, you know, invoice. You take care of it kind of like, you know, right there, and you're pretty much, you know, you're good for a year.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. So let's move on to our Nuggets of Truth segment, where you've got an interesting topic for us today, Mark. Let's you want to dive into that?
Sure. I mean, this all kind of like, you know, comes from questions that I actually get asked, and, you know, fortunately, kind of like, you know, for us, I guess we're doing some good things here, and I'm sure you go through the same things too. But I'm kind of at a point right now, and where at least twice a week, somebody's reaching out to us asking for a job or an opportunity with Statement Games, or is there something that I can like do here? So I just want to kind of go through a couple of different things on what you can actually do to break into the sports industry. Of course, you know, you and I have taken a little bit of a different approach here. We've created platforms, we've spent money on resources, whether it's video equipment or websites, domains, and all that stuff here, and, you know, all these different things, and we have kind of like, you know, ideas that are different here, and that's what we're kind of like pursuing with here. But there's a lot of people that are out there that love sports. They don't necessarily want to start their own business around sports, but they want to kind of like, you know, get their feet wet or get this kind of like, you know, start in sports. So I wanted to just talk about a couple of different tips on what I would advise you to do to make yourself, you know, more attractive, so that maybe you can actually, you know, land that job at ESPN or CBS or with IDP guys or kind of like, you know, Statement Games or wherever your ambitions kind of, you know, might be here. So if you're a college kid, even a high school kid, or somebody who's looking to kind of like, you know, do something kind of like, you know, on the side, don't necessarily have a lot of experience with media companies or with professional teams or sports here are a couple of different things that you can actually do to make yourself, you know, look a little, you know, more attractive to organizations that are like us within the industry. And the biggest advice that I can actually give here, it sounds simple, but it works and it's effective, and it's going to set you up for more long-term success, and that is write. You know, start kind of like, you know, writing. Selfishly speaking here, we're always looking for, you know, content writers or, you know, people who are willing to help us create content from an editorial perspective, because it helps get the Statement Games word and kind of like, you know, brand out. So we constantly put out articles that are game day previews or just little different articles on fantasy football, fantasy basketball. We're coming out with an article right now just on the whole James Harden, like, you know, situation. Things like that. It helps with a variety of different things. Because I'm not sure about you here. The one thing that people automatically want to jump into is, hey, you know what? I want to get in front of a camera. I want to, you know, basically be the next Dave Portnoy or YouTube star or whatever it is kind of like, you know, may be. And I think, you know, the two of us are actually aspiring to try and do like a lot of those different things here. But there's certain steps that you kind of, in our opinion, things that you need to do before you can actually just start, you know, getting in front of a TV camera or on kind of, you know, TV. And writing is a great way to do it. One, it's going to help you organize a variety of different thoughts and pretty much, you know, format that thoughts into a storyline, which ultimately is very transitionable, whether you're looking to start a video vlog or maybe kind of, you know, a podcast and things like that here. But that's the one thing that I would actually, you know, advise that you kind of like, you know, get involved with, and wanted to throw that out there and see what you thought about the topic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Getting like trying to break into the sports analysis or sports media industry, definitely writing, and even before that, being good on social media as far as like having good opinions, sharing those opinions, those are going to go a long way to help you get kind of identified from platform creators like us and approach to say to give you that opportunity for sure. But the big thing is once you are approached and you have that opportunity, you have to prove yourself. You have to be able to write. Um, and so that's going to be important to develop that skill. Getting in front of a camera and going on a YouTube, like you can, that is an avenue that you can do as far as like creating content. But if you want to do it for a brand, they're going to have to know that you're responsible enough and able to formulate those opinions and put together solid content. So showing them, written work and working yourself up, working your way up through whether it's the IDP guys, the state through statement games, like you've got to come in, show your worth, and then be identified to move up. So it's definitely attainable, reachable. It's things I see it all the time. There's every year I call it the rookie class. There's a new class of analysts, of content creators that come every year. And the big thing is it's a grind. As Marc will say, talk to any of my guys on staff, like especially, so we do football and we do content essentially from March through January to late December, and it gets heavier and heavier towards the end of the cycle, and then we have like a 2 month break. People will try it, they'll kind of have a breakout, and then they'll kind of pitter away. So you really have to be dedicated, and if you are dedicated, you can outlast and kind of just move yourself up just for the fact that you're still active, you're still doing it.
That's the thing I was actually going to say here. Definitely from a social media perspective, from a vlogging kind of perspective, even if you're jumping right into video here, consistency is kind of key. I don't think there's anything or such a thing in our industry as kind of a one hit kind of wonder. You're not going to create one piece of content and then boom, next thing you know, here you got all these people on your coattails following you and commenting on that one kind of post here. You got to be consistent. You're actually gonna have to put out something that's entertaining, and the way I kind of describe it, it's just got to kind of make sense here. I don't actually think that you need to be the next class clown. I mean, Portnoy is great. I mean, he's just kind of like a very charismatic, entertaining kind of guy here. But if you're kind of consistent in the content that you're putting out there, if it makes sense, you don't have to, put out a Nobel Peace Prize every single time that you put out like a piece of content. You don't have to kind of put out the, wham bam shock value tweet or Instagram post to be successful in the industry. You just got to be consistent, and it has to kind of make sense, and kind of put some thought into it as well here. I mean, I get very frustrated when I kind of see people just putting out "Let's go Giants," and that's it. Like, all right, well, you're not necessarily adding any type of value to my feed, or giving me kind of any type of insight or kind of or knowledge here. I mean, and what kind of very frustrating to me, I'm sure you kind of see it all the time too here. How many people are out there and where they just kind of post their picks for like the week or something like that? Is if I care about what your picks are. Now, if you're giving your picks, and you might kind of give a couple of different reasons as to why you like that pick, all right. And I'm not even saying that I have to agree with it here, but as long as I kind of can say, hey, you know what? Well, that makes sense. I'm not much more inclined to, follow you. And all right, well, let's see what's going on here. And does that kind of affect kind of my thought process when I'm in the process of kind of making picks? So it's things like that I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, just to add on, is to not get discouraged if it's not overnight success.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
it generally, my rule of thumb is to not even expect any improvement of metrics for the first year of whatever I'm doing. So, like, when Mark and I were discussing this podcast itself, like, and we were like, let's do this, let's see, and getting it all together, I just told Mark, I was like, don't expect overnight success. We got to put
Oh
this,
no, I
we got
mean,
to put
as
the
of right
work
now, I
in
mean,
for a
what
year.
is our YouTube channel? I think we're below, like, 50 subscribers or something like that here, and it's a process. I mean, Statement Games probably has a database of about 15,000, people that have kind of gone through a game here. But now, we're working on educating those people within our database here that there's a show that's out there that exists, and we'll, end the show kind of like, with the same, I guess, plea that we make every week here, which is, you know, give us some comments in the box
Yeah.
here. I mean, this is how we learn how to develop show, learn more about what you guys like, what you kind of like, don't like. Are we doing something that's kind of like, different? Are we just kind of like another ho hum Joe Schmo podcast kind of like, out there? This is trial and error for us, and we're legitimately trying to work through different scenarios and formulas, all in an effort to figure out, what people like, what they don't like here, and how do we produce a better show.
Yeah, absolutely. And through that year, you find your voice and you find out what's working, what doesn't work, and at the end of it, you'll start to see those metrics rise. I've put together multiple. Just starting out, the IDP guys was just a podcast, and for that
Yeah.
first year, we averaged about 50 downloads. So
Yeah.
we just kept going, and into the second year, we got into hundreds, and then we started breaking, four figures and everything per episode. So it was, um, it, it's a grind. You got to put the work in, and the best way to do it is just write, be active, and gain the attention of a platform to get involved
And
in.
and I just also want to throw this out there as well. Grind, kind of like, be active. And I don't mean this in any type of discouraging kind of like, way here. But there's a lot of people that are out there that, let's just kind of like, say, for all intents and purposes, they have maybe a platform on social media of less than 100 followers, or even kind of like a less than 1,000 followers. I would actually even say, uh, for all intents and purposes, if you have a platform that's less than kind of 10,000 people, and I don't care kind of what it is here, when you're looking for these types of opportunities, don't expect to obtain a Mike Lupica type of base salary. Those types of positions just don't exist kind of like within our industry. You don't have the platform. You don't necessarily have the consistency of kind of like putting out content. You don't necessarily have a follow. So I can make this offer. I'm sure you have no problem making this offer, pretty much like IDP guys here, which is use companies or platforms like us to establish your voice and to build kind of like some traction. Yeah, we're getting the benefit of you kind of like creating content and putting it out on your behalf here, but we're also giving you some very intangible benefit in the form of experience. Learning how to utilize a program like WordPress, putting out kind of content, utilizing kind of like your just traditional social media feeds to talk about something that's a little bit different, like defensive fantasy football, or like an alternative form of fantasy sports, kind of like Statement Games here. I get requests all the time, and they're all great people. We have kind of great conversations here, and they're like, all right, and I'm expecting kind of like X, and I was like, listen, very politely, you're not Matthew Berry. I like,
Yeah.
and plus we're kind of like startups. And the way I kind of like to look at it here is like, look, we're all shooting for paid views and things like that here. And when your content has the ability to start generating revenue, you'll be compensated, and you'll be compensated handsomely for it. Or at the very least, use me. Use me for the experience, and then take that experience and go kind of like work for a more established kind of like media company that has the means to maybe pay you something more that you're doing. But by sitting around and not creating any content and not establishing your voice or establishing like your rhythm here, you're never going to break into the sports industry kind of anyway. And unfortunately, 6K kind of like salaries for people who are not necessarily accustomed or have a name within the sports industry, you're just those opportunities don't exist yet. That's why people like me and you are trying to create those types of opportunities for ourselves by establishing our own platform. So, you can throw out your stuff over here. It's marketing@statementgames.com. Anybody who likes what we're doing and can kind of see that we have a unique value proposition here, if you're looking to latch on or hook up with a platform that's going to give you the ability to carve out your own voice here, I'd love to work with you.
Yep, absolutely. And I would say that the biggest benefit I give my writers is working with me on developing their brand, which is separate from my brand. They create their content, they do everything which benefits me, and then in turn, I help them out with, obviously I do graphic design and stuff, so I can help them in those aspects. But just how do you market yourself? How do you get more views onto your writing? And how do you, kind of hold yourself in a way that is, attractive to people coming to you for questions and everything. So there's a lot more to, it's more of a value exchange rather than just a monetary exchange when you get involved with a brand like us. And then you take that experience, you bundle it together, and you can go on to ESPN or wherever with a good recommendation and some real experience.
Amen, man. That's the way I kind of feel as well. That's kind of a great point here. So people, your platform, and we're definitely trying to do the same here. When you create content here, although you're doing it through a vehicle like a blog or something like that, or vehicles that we're kind of providing with, the content that you create is your content. This is, your voice, your work kind of stays with you as long as you have the ability to stick your name on that piece of content that you're working on here, which we both give you the ability to do here. You can kind of carry that with you forever. You just got to start developing your voice and your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into some more sports talk since we are a sports show.
Yeah.
And let's make some picks here. This is the main segment, and we're going to be talking about the Tennessee versus Green Bay Packers game. And so, Mark, do you want to go into a little bit on how you play and what this game is?
Yeah, sure. So, same kind of as always, when we're talking about the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers here, statementgames.com. You can actually find us in your favorite app store, whether it's Apple or Google Play. Just simply search on Statement Games Fantasy Sports. Log into the platform. It's all 100% free. You can log in through Google, Facebook, your Apple ID, or do it the old-fashioned way by just verifying an email address here. I'm giving you the opportunity to play for free and actually win some cash prizes. You're going to have to finish in either first, second, third, or in any contest or game that we go ahead and promote. The way it works is I'm presenting you with a list of anywhere between 55 to 60 props that it relates to the Titans versus Packers game. Sunday night, kind of football here. You're going to go through the list, pick 10 of them, rank those picks in order of confidence from 10 through 1, 10 being your most confident pick. So as the game plays out, if your number 10 pick comes correct, you get 10 points. If 9 through 1 are incorrect, now you just have a total of 10 points. You're going to play in a league of anywhere between 8 to 12 people, and the person with the most points from correct picks wins. You're competing for Statement Games coins, which are exchangeable for cash rewards.
Nice. And this segment, this Making Picks segment, is brought to you by the IDP guys. They are your #1 source for non-standard fantasy football. Play the contest and visit idpguys.org to step up your fantasy game. So, Mark, what's your thoughts on this game? Where do you see it going?
Well, the way I'm kind of looking at it is, look, it's very impressive watching Aaron Rodgers, compete this year. I personally feel that I don't think he'll win it here, but he's definitely an MVP candidate. And from my perspective here, Green Bay has 100% emerged as the favorite to get to the Super Bowl from an NFC kind of perspective here. So I'm kind of impressed with the way that the Packers have played. Nice kind of bounce back from a couple weeks ago after that home loss to Minnesota. And Rodgers is Rodgers. Team has the ability to move the ball through the air, and has the ability to kind of like come back at the flick of a switch. From a Titans perspective here, I absolutely love Henry, 100% beast, leading rusher kind of in the NFL. Let me just kind of pull it up real quick. I know we were just talking about it for a second here, but as of right now, 1,679 rushing yards, a lot of attempts, 321 attempts, which is almost kind of more than let's see here, about 30 more attempts than Delvin Cook, who has 1,484 yards. Tannehill is pretty impressive here, but Titans are, in my perspective here, just kind of like a great kind of running team here. So you have a different style of teams kind of coming up on Sunday Night Football. One team, excellent job of running the ball. Another team, probably with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and can 100% move the ball through the air. So just kind of different to see the different styles of play here. And do I actually dare to say, is this a potential Super Bowl preview? What do you think? Probably not, but
yeah.
But it's not that far fetched. Not that far fetched. It's not impossible. I mean, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I really like the game. On the flip side, the defense, it's almost the opposite pairing. You've got a very bottom of the league rushing defense in the Green Bay Packers, and then the secondary of the Tennessee Titans have been kind of banged up and hit with COVID over the season. So it's this recipe to kind of lend itself towards a high scoring match that you're going to have Derrick Henry running through the Packers and Aaron Rodgers keeping pace, throwing those footballs. I think Tannehill and his air attack is still going to come into play, but for the most part, I think this is Derrick Henry versus Aaron Rodgers in a race to the finish.
Well, I think you can get a little bit more excitement than this past Sunday night, which I guess not necessarily a lot of firepower from the fucking Giants. Well, we'll have to see if we. Which I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're gonna see more points. You're gonna see more than 26 points scored in this football game. I guarantee it. How about that? I'm going to get a little cocky now. I guess technically this is a social media platform, right? I'm going to run my mouth. Yeah. I'm going to guarantee, I'll even tweet this, that in this game there will be more than 26 points scored.
Yeah, I won't take the under on that. But yeah, all right. Well, you have a little clip that you like to go into, so I want to give you a moment to share before I
run sure. So hey, look, you know what? I'm sure you kind of had your chops busted like this week with your big kind of goose egg here. Finally, kind of get off the snide here, and 2 for 3 this week or last week, kind of with my picks. It's actually coming off a 2-week stint in a row here of only kind of going 1 for 3. People like taking jabs, they like taking shots, and they just need to realize that when they're messing with us and our ability to make prop picks, you're messing with.
All righty, nice, good.
I think we might have to extend it like a little bit more. I think we're getting there, but we'll have to kind of see. We don't want to get arrested by the YouTube police here for copyright infringement here, but we'll have to kind of debate and strategize leading into next week here. If we can just string it out by another 1 or 2 seconds, we'll see.
Yeah, but let's get into the picks here. Just this looks pretty good. Okay, cool. So why don't you start off with your first pick?
I mean, we just kind of talked about it, and I don't think this is going to be a surprise here. I don't think this is the sexiest pick here, but I am kind of putting some muscle behind the leading rusher in the NFL right now. So let's not waste any time or play any games here. Let's just go ahead and lock in Derrick Henry over 78.5 yards rushing on Sunday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll double down with that because I think he's just going to go off. And I think that they're going to be relying on him to keep the score up and keep pace with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to say Derrick Henry over 1.5 touchdowns. Derrick Henry has to at least get 2 this game. I just see it.
Just jotting this down so that I make sure you don't cheat here. So Henry over 1.5 TDs. All right.
Yep.
All right.
And
so okay.
Your second.
So on that kind of theme here, because I do believe that Green Bay will move the ball through the air. I'm just not kind of sold on Aaron Jones. More from a perspective of I just believe that Green Bay will move the ball through the air more so than through the run. So I'm going to kind of lock in Henry. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Jones under 74.5 yards rushing.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that for sure. What I would say is, since this qualifies strictly rushing yards, Aaron Jones will probably have some passing yards to, for a fantasy
he'll make up the difference on
perspective.
the screen and things like that, the short plays over
Right.
here. But from a pure kind of rushing the ball perspective here, let's take the under on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to kind of pair with that air attack and say for Aaron Rodgers himself to go over 2.5 touchdown passes.
Ooh, that's a big number. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's going to be high scoring, and I think both Henry and Rodgers are going to have to keep up the pace. It's going to be Rodgers' air attack, and he's going to probably have a few bombs that go in.
You know what? I know that we were kind of debating this, and we're talking about on the show here, but I think you kind of made a couple different points here, and again, I'm definitely kind of you know what? I'm going to kind of stick with it because although I believe the air attack is going to be the weapon of choice for Green Bay this year, I am banking on the Titans to run the ball pretty well, which just basically means that there's less time for Rodgers to kind of throw. So kind of with that kind of theme in mind here, although I do like your pick of over 2.5 kind of TDs here, I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers under 290 yards passing kind of through the air, just because I think that's a big number, and given the way that Tennessee could potentially control the ball, I just don't think that there's enough time and enough possessions for Rodgers to hit the 290 mark this year. Not 100% confident. I'm definitely making that as my least favorite kind of pick here, but I like it strong enough to put it in my my top 6.
Yeah, no, and I could see that. It's going to be, time-wise, it's going to be restricted, and I think that Rodgers may find other ways to get ball down the field. You still have close to 70 yards for Aaron Jones to make up for to get down the field and stuff. So I think that it's true. I can see it for sure. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here with I think the total score is going to be over 56.5 points, and I'm just going to bump that one up over the Rodgers passing.
All right.
So with that, we got our picks in, and yeah, good stuff. I'm looking forward to this game. It's going to be fun to watch, and we'll see who comes up. I need to kind of get back on track, get back to the 3 for 3. Going over is not a good look for me. But I did get the war. I won the war. I get to keep my hair.
Hey, I think I'm going to be starting a new trend here. I think Mohawks are in.
Yeah. No, definitely. I've done it before. It does not look cute, and my wife would have been really pissed. So But yeah, no, great episode. Thanks, Mark, and thanks for everyone watching. Make sure you're checking us out on the regular every week. We put together our show. Follow us. Follow Statement Games on social media at Statement Games. Follow the YouTube channel Statement Games, and as always, make sure you're playing StatementGames.com. See you next
Merry
week.
Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. We'll see you soon.